spoken to a driver that drove Dodi or Diana in previous occasions. Did they ever wear their seatbelts? And do these people think they're invincible to not wear seatbelts?
I'll answer the second question first. Yes, invincibility is something I think that most people assume comes with a certain degree of success. Secondly, I have never worn a seatbelt in the backseat of a limousine in my life, and I don't think most of my colleagues do. However, I think that Joanna O'Donnell, this disaster might change some of our habits.
Yeah, very few people do wear it in taxi cabs in New York. It's very common for all the kinds of facial injuries you get when you don't wear your seatbelt. People just aren't wearing them. You're 30% safer in the back seat, but if you wear a seatbelt, you're 45% safer. You're doubling your chance of dying without a seatbelt.
Muhammad Wabi, is it fair to say that a significant segment of the Muslim world believes Dodi and Diana were murdered?
Yes, very much so.
Tell us where the idea, the notion comes from.
The idea actually comes from before even their death, because what happened was, as soon as the story came out, we found all the inherent racism in the British society came to the fore.
You saw British racism surface.
Surfacing. You can see it in many of the newspapers, even serious newspapers in England. For instance, one correspondent, if I remember, asked Princess Diana, are you going to wear a veil when you get married to Dodi? The idea of the veil and Islam, you see, and the veil and the Arabs and so on. Another one, for instance, wrote, I think the editor, one of the editors of the Daily Mail, said, how could Diana escape from the royal prison to go to a much worse prison, and that is the Arab prison? And so on and so forth. It was all full of racial slurs against the Arabs and against the Muslims.
I remember when Muammar Gaddafi, the obviously very controversial leader of Libya, in the immediate aftermath of the disaster, stated that she had been murdered. I thought, how far-fetched, how silly, there goes Gaddafi again. And yet, I tell you folks, it is impossible to understate the generalized acceptance now of the notion that the British royal family, the British government, the British Secret Services never would have countenanced a Muslim being stepfather to the King of England, and that they did something terrible. Of course, you can think that notion totally far-fetched and ridiculous. I only recite it to you because it is one that is generally held.